Welcome back to What's on Hollywood. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most thrilling matchups from the boys' universe, Moreau from Gen V facing the unstoppable Homelander. This battle is fascinating not just because of the contrast in their powers but because it represents the clash between rising potential and godlike supremacy. On one side stands Moreau, a newcomer still exploring her extraordinary but terrifying gift of blood manipulation. On the other side stands Homelander, the face of ultimate power, dominance, and fear. The big question is, if these two were to clash, who would truly stand victorious? Let's break it down step by step in 5 major sections: their origins, their powers, their weaknesses, the hypothetical battle, and finally, the ultimate result. Origins of the characters? Moreau's story begins in tragedy. She wasn't born into fame or glory, nor was she raised as the shining example of a soup. Her powers revealed themselves during puberty, in a horrifying accident that claimed the lives of her parents. Imagine being a young girl discovering that the very thing inside you, your gift, your power, could also be your curse. For Moreau, that trauma defined her early years. She grew up in institutions, isolated from normalcy, and constantly carrying the weight of guilt for something she couldn't control. When she arrived at godlike University, she wasn't chasing popularity or recognition. She was searching for a way to use her powers responsibly, to find meaning in her abilities, and to prove that not all soups had to follow the dark path carved by Vought's corrupted vision. Moreau is the embodiment of resilience, empathy, and growth. She is still learning, still building her identity, but her journey shows a hunger to be different from the corrupt idols before her. Homelander's story couldn't be more different. He wasn't born into an ordinary family, and he never knew the love of parents or the comfort of belonging. Instead, he was a product of Vought's experiments, raised in sterile labs, studied like a dangerous animal, and taught from the beginning that he was superior to everyone else. But deep inside, that lack of genuine love and human connection carved a hole in him, a hole he's been trying to fill ever since with adoration, control, and fear. To the public, he's marketed as the shining savior of America, the perfect soup who embodies strength, morality, and patriotism. But the mask he wears hides an insecure, manipulative, and unstable man. Unlike Moreau, who strives to rise above her trauma, Homelander uses his scars as fuel for domination. He doesn't want to save people, he wants to rule them, to control their every perception, and to bask in their worship. This difference in their origins sets the stage for a battle not just of strength but of ideology. Moreau represents responsibility and growth, while Homelander embodies unchecked arrogance and corruption. Their powers and abilities. Moreau's powers are both unique and horrifying. She has the ability to manipulate blood, not only her own but also the blood of those around her. This allows her to weaponize it in ways that are precise and lethal. She can form sharp projectiles, choke enemies by constricting blood flow, and even rip blood out of wounds to weaken opponents. Her most terrifying ability is to manipulate the blood inside someone's body, effectively controlling them or shutting them down completely. What makes her dangerous is not brute force but precision and creativity. While most soups rely on overwhelming strength or flashy abilities, Moreau's gift is surgical. In a fight, she doesn't need to overpower her opponent directly, she just needs one opening to draw blood, and suddenly the battlefield tilts in her favor. Against humans or inexperienced soups, she is practically unstoppable. Homelander, however, is the ultimate symbol of raw power. He has nearly every ability you could want in a godlike being. His strength is unmatched, allowing him to crush enemies with little effort. His body is almost invulnerable, resisting bullets, explosives, and even other soups' attacks. His heat vision can slice through steel, burn enemies to ash, and obliterate targets in the blink of an eye. He can fly at incredible speeds, dominate the battlefield from above, and strike with terrifying accuracy. Add to that enhanced hearing, sight, and reflexes, and you have a character who is designed to be untouchable. Homelander is not just strong, he is overwhelming. He doesn't fight battles, he ends them. Where Moreau requires strategy, timing, and creativity, Homelander requires only his presence. His very existence on the battlefield changes everything because very few dare to challenge him, and fewer still survive the attempt. This is what makes the matchup so intriguing: Marie's precision against Homelander's sheer dominance. Weaknesses and limitations. Every power has its limits, and both characters carry weaknesses that shape their battles. For Marie, her biggest challenge is her inexperience. She is still learning the full extent of her powers, and while her creativity is promising, she hasn't yet faced an opponent anywhere near Homelander's level. Her ability also depends on blood being present. If she cannot access her own blood or draw it from her opponent, her options become limited. Against someone who doesn't bleed easily, or at all, her effectiveness decreases dramatically. Long-range attacks are also not her strength, which means she has to find ways to either close the distance or force her opponent to bleed before she can truly take control of the fight. Homelander's weaknesses, on the other hand, are not physical but psychological. Physically, he has no clear vulnerabilities shown in the series. Conventional weapons can't touch him, and even other powerful supes struggle to do meaningful damage. However, Homelander is deeply insecure. He craves love, validation, and constant admiration. This obsession with being adored can cloud his judgment, making him reckless. His arrogance also pushes him to toy with opponents instead of finishing them quickly, which has the potential to create openings for someone as resourceful as Marie. Still, let's be honest, Homelander's flaws, while real, rarely translate into physical disadvantages in a direct battle. His enemies often find that even if they understand his psychology, they still lack the tools to exploit it in combat. For Marie, this means that her only chance lies in catching Homelander off guard, exploiting his overconfidence, and striking in that one critical moment. But opportunities like that are rare, and surviving long enough to find one is even harder. The hypothetical battle? Picture the two of them facing each other. Marie, aware of Homelander's terrifying reputation, knows she cannot fight recklessly. Homelander, smug and condescending, sees her as just another rookie supe with no real chance against him. The opening moments would be crucial. Homelander would likely start with intimidation, perhaps a mocking speech followed by a devastating blast of heat vision. Marie's reflexes and creativity would be tested immediately. She might shield herself with blood manipulation, pulling every drop she can control into a barrier, but even then, the raw power of Homelander's beams would force her onto the defensive. If Marie survives the first wave, her strategy becomes clear: make Homelander bleed. She might try to launch razor-sharp projectiles from her own blood, cutting into his skin, or create sudden bursts to catch him off guard. The key would be creating even the smallest wound. If she can, she could attempt to restrict his movements or choke him by manipulating his blood directly. In that moment, the fight becomes far more dangerous for Homelander, because unlike conventional attacks, Marie's ability could bypass some of his invulnerability. But Homelander isn't without answers. His speed and flight mean that he can maintain distance, forcing Marie to constantly react. His heat vision allows him to strike from afar, making it hard for her to land that critical blow. If he decides to get serious, he could simply tear through her defenses and end the fight in seconds. The deciding factor is his arrogance. If Homelander toys with her, Marie could gain the window she needs. If he underestimates her, and history shows he often underestimates people, then for the first time, he might find himself vulnerable to an opponent he never expected to challenge him. The final result. At the end of the day, the outcome of this battle comes down to probability. Marie Moreau is brave, resourceful, and filled with potential. Her powers are among the most unique in the boys' universe, and with time, she could grow into a force capable of challenging even the strongest supes. But right now, she is still in the early stages of her journey. She lacks the experience, the control, and the raw durability required to withstand Homelander's overwhelming might. Homelander's heat vision alone could disintegrate her before she ever gets close enough to make him bleed. His strength and speed mean he can dominate the fight before Marie even finds her footing. The only realistic path to victory for Marie is through Homelander's arrogance. If he underestimates her, if he toys with her, and if she manages to exploit that single moment of weakness, she could theoretically take control of his blood and shut him down. But the odds of that scenario playing out in her favor are slim. Against a fully alert, serious Homelander, Marie doesn't stand much of a chance. So, the final result is clear: Homelander wins. Marie Moreau has the heart of a hero, the resilience of a survivor, and the potential to one day rival gods. But in this matchup, against the most powerful and feared soup in the world, her journey ends in defeat. Homelander remains the undisputed force of nature, while Marie's story continues as one of growth and untapped potential. Check out my other videos for more epic character crossovers and battles. Thanks for watching, and stay happy and healthy.